Dr. Sarah Chun stood motionless as the facility's main door slid open, revealing three magnificent predators that should not have existed on this alien world. The adult female moved with fluid grace despite her obvious exhaustion, while two younger cats flanked her protectively. Their golden eyes held an intelligence that sent shivers down Chun's spine. "My God," whispered Dr. Marcus Webb, Chun's xenobiologist colleague. The modifications actually worked. Elena's theories about enhanced cognition were right. The third team member, Engineer Lisa Park, kept her hand near her sidearm but made no threatening moves. All three humans had heard the stories about Dr. Rodriguez's radical experiments, but seeing the results was profoundly different from reading research reports. Sasha approached slowly, her cubs matching her careful pace. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind, knowing that first impressions would determine everything that followed. "Dr. Chun," she said, her voice carrying the strange blend of feline undertones and precise pronunciation that her modifications made possible. "I knew Dr. Rodriguez. She spoke of you. Said you understood what we might become." Chun's eyes widened behind her helmet visor. "Elena mentioned me?" "She said you believed intelligence could take many forms. That consciousness was not limited to human patterns." Sasha stopped 3 meters from the human team, close enough to communicate clearly, but far enough to avoid triggering their flight responses. She was proud of her work. Proud of us. The cubs pressed closer to their mother, their eyes fixed on the strange bipedal creatures before them. They had never seen humans before the research station raid, and these beings represented both hope and uncertainty. Dr. Webb slowly removed his helmet, breathing the filtered air of the facility. "The neural pathway modifications Elena described in her last reports, they actually allowed for language development?" Sasha's ears flicked forward, recognizing genuine scientific curiosity rather than fear. "More than language. We can learn, plan, understand complex relationships. My cubs will be even more capable than I am. Each generation builds on the last." Chun felt a chill of wonder and responsibility. They were witnessing the birth of a new form of consciousness, enhanced Earth life that could think and communicate at levels approaching human capacity. "The Valonians," Chun said carefully. "They abandoned you here?" Sasha's expression darkened, her lips pulling back slightly to reveal sharp canines. "They used us for hunting sport? When the mining operation ended, we became inconvenient. They released all the preserved creatures without food or shelter. Most will die within days." Park spoke up, her engineer's mind immediately grasping the logistical nightmare. "This planet's ecosystem can't support Earth predators. The atmospheric composition is wrong, the food chain is incompatible. You should have been dead already." "We would have been, without the facility's resources," Sasha acknowledged. "But this is not a permanent solution. We need to leave this world, or we will die slowly instead of quickly." Chun nodded, her mind already working through possibilities. "We're with the Frontier Research Initiative. Our ship has limited passenger space, but we could modify the cargo bay for temporary transport. The question is where to take you." Where humans can survive, we can adapt," Sasha replied. "Dr. Rodriguez designed us to be flexible. We are not fully wild anymore, but we are not domesticated either. We need a place where we can exist as ourselves." Webb consulted his portable computer, calling up star charts and colony databases. "There's a terraforming project on Kepler 438c about 60 light-years from here. It's designed as a research colony for studying adaptive evolution in introduced species. They might welcome subjects like you." "Subjects?" Sasha's voice carried a warning growl. Chun raised her hands peacefully. "Partners, not subjects. If you're truly as intelligent as you appear, then you have the right to choose your own path. We could arrange for you to work with the research teams as consultants, helping them understand enhanced species development." The concept seemed to intrigue Sasha. Her cubs, still pressed close to her sides, watched the conversation with wide eyes that missed nothing. "What would be required of us?" she asked. "Participation in research, sharing your experiences and capabilities. helping develop protocols for other enhanced species, Webb explained. In return, you'd have safe habitat, regular food supplies, medical care, and most importantly, recognition as sapient beings with rights and freedoms. Park was already calculating cargo bay modifications on her tablet. We'll need environmental controls for the journey, feeding arrangements, waste management. The cubs will need secure areas for rest and exercise during transit. Sasha studied each human carefully, analyzing their body language and vocal patterns for deception. Her enhanced cognitive abilities allowed her to process micro-expressions and stress, indicators that would reveal dishonesty. What she saw was genuine scientific excitement tempered by ethical concern. These humans were not viewing her as property or specimens, but as individuals deserving of respect and consideration. "There is something else," Sasha said quietly. "Other creatures from the preserve are dying out there. Some may have intelligence we do not recognize. If we leave, they all perish." June felt a pang of guilt. The Valonians had abandoned dozens of exotic creatures to certain death, but the human ship could only carry a few passengers safely. "We can't save them all," she admitted. "But we can document their presence, alert other rescue ships, maybe arrange for additional missions." "No," Sasha said firmly. "We take what we can carry. Now, my cubs and I will help capture and contain the most salvageable creatures. We know how they think, how they hunt, how they hide." Park looked up from her calculations. "The cargo bay could hold maybe 6 medium-sized creatures plus your family. Any more and we risk life support failure for everyone." Sasha's golden eyes gleamed with predatory intelligence. "Then we choose carefully. The ones with the best chance of survival, the ones who might carry intelligence genes like ours." Over the next 6 hours, an unprecedented rescue operation unfolded across the abandoned planet. Sasha and her cubs used their enhanced senses and natural hunting abilities to locate and guide the human team to creatures that could be safely captured and transported. They found a pair of Zarian shadow cats huddled in a cave system, their adaptive camouflage flickering weakly from cold and hunger. A young plasma bear from Taros Prime, barely past cub stage, was discovered near a mineral hot spring that had kept it alive but wouldn't sustain it much longer. Most remarkably, they located 3 creatures that none of the humans recognized. Sleek, serpentine beings with multiple eyes and manipulator appendages that showed signs of tool use and complex social behavior. Unknown species. Webb breathed as they watched the creatures carefully dismantling a Valonian feeding mechanism to access its internal components. Possibly sapient. The Valonians must have captured them from an undiscovered world. Sasha approached the creatures cautiously, using body language and vocalizations to communicate peaceful intent. After several tense minutes, the beings allowed themselves to be guided toward the transport ship, apparently recognizing that these new arrivals represented a chance for survival. As their improvised ark lifted off from Kepler 442b, Chun looked back at the abandoned planet through the ship's viewports. They had saved 8 lives, but left dozens more to face certain death in the alien wilderness. Sasha appeared beside her, moving silently on padded paws. Her cubs were settled in the cargo bay, already adapting to their new environment with the flexibility their genetic modifications provided. "You regret the ones we could not save," Sasha observed, "don't you?" Chun asked. Sasha was quiet for a moment, her enhanced mind processing complex emotions that evolution had never prepared her for. "Yes, but regret without action is useless. We live, we learn, we become stronger. And we ensure this never happens again to others like us." June felt a chill of realization. Sasha was not just an enhanced predator seeking survival. She was the first of a new kind of consciousness, one that combined human-level intelligence with predatory instincts honed by millions of years of evolution. "What will you do when we reach the research colony?" Chen asked. Sasha's golden eyes reflected the starlight streaming through the viewport. "We will learn everything we can about the galaxy and its species. We will discover how many other enhanced beings exist, scattered across 1,000 worlds. And we will ensure they are never abandoned again." Her cubs appeared at her side, their own eyes bright with inherited intelligence and inherited purpose. 3 generations of genetic modification had created something unprecedented in Earth's history: predators with moral awareness, creatures capable of both hunting and compassion. The Valonians thought they were abandoning animals to die, Sasha continued, but they were creating something far more dangerous to their kind of thinking. They were creating a species that remembers injustice and has the intelligence to do something about it. As their ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its precious cargo toward a new home among the stars, Chun realized that humanity had not just rescued enhanced Earth predators from certain death. They had formed an alliance with beings who might one day reshape the galaxy's understanding of intelligence, consciousness, and the rights of all sentient life. The abandoned became the found. The mining facility's main complex loomed against the alien sky like a metallic mountain. Automated defense systems had been deactivated during the evacuation, but Sasha approached with careful steps anyway. Her enhanced senses detected residual energy signatures from dozens of different alien technologies, creating a symphony of electromagnetic noise that made her fur stand on end. The cubs pressed close behind her, their eyes wide with fear and hunger. They had not eaten in 3 days, and their mother's milk had dried up months ago. Without food soon, they would begin to weaken rapidly in this harsh environment. Sasha found an auxiliary entrance that had been left unsealed, likely by careless evacuation procedures. The door's bioscanner was still active, cycling through identification protocols for species it no longer expected to encounter. She studied the device carefully, watching the patterns of light and energy that indicated its operation. During her captivity, she had observed Valonian technicians using similar scanners. The devices read biological signatures and compared them to a database of authorized personnel. But they also had emergency protocols for unknown species, designed to alert security rather than simply deny access. If she could trigger the right response, she might be able to communicate her intelligence to whoever monitored the facility's automated systems. But it was a tremendous gamble. The security response might be lethal rather than investigative. Her cubs whimpered behind her, and the sound decided her. They were going to die anyway, without intervention. Sasha placed her paw against the bioscanner, holding it steady as the device analyzed her genetic signature. Lights flashed in complex patterns as the system struggled to categorize her hybrid nature, part natural Earth leopard, part genetically modified research subject, part something entirely unique. Alarms began to sound throughout the facility. But instead of defensive weapons activating, communication arrays came online. The scanner had classified her as an unknown intelligent species requiring diplomatic contact. Protocol, Dr. Rodriguez's modifications had included enhanced vocal cords and neural pathways that allowed for complex sound production. During her captivity, Sasha had listened to thousands of hours of Valonian communications. Now, she took a deep breath and attempted something no Earth predator had ever tried before. "Help," she spoke into the scanner's audio pickup, her voice a strange blend of feline growl and carefully modulated alien syllables. "Cubs dying need ... The facility's artificial intelligence system, a basic model left to maintain essential functions, processed this unprecedented input. According to its programming, any creature capable of speech and requesting aid was to be granted limited facility access pending contact with appropriate authorities. The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. Sasha led her cubs into the facility's main corridor. Emergency lighting cast everything in a cold blue glow, and the air recycling systems hummed with steady efficiency. The cubs stayed close to their mother, overwhelmed by the alien smells and sounds surrounding them. They needed food first, then shelter, then a way to contact someone who could help them escape this world. Sasha's enhanced intelligence mapped out the facility's layout based on architectural logic and the few glimpses she had caught during her imprisonment. The cafeteria would be in the central section, designed to serve the hundreds of workers who had operated the mining equipment. She guided her family through corridors lined with alien script and warning symbols. Following her nose toward the scent of preserved food, the cafeteria was vast and empty, its tables and chairs sized for various alien species that had worked the mining operation. But the food storage systems were still operational, maintained by the same AI that had granted them access. Most of the stored provisions were designed for alien digestive systems and would be toxic to Earth-evolved creatures. But Sasha's enhanced senses detected something familiar among the chemical signatures, protein rations stored for the facility's few human prisoners who had been kept as technical consultants. She approached the storage unit carefully, studying its access controls. The interface was similar to systems she had observed in the research station before her capture. With delicate precision, she used her claws to manipulate the control surface. Accessing the human dietary supplements, the rations were bland but nutritious, designed to keep humans alive in alien environments. More importantly, they were safe for creatures with Earth-based biochemistry. Sasha tore open several packages and laid them before her cubs, who devoured the food with desperate hunger. While they ate, she continued exploring the facility's systems. The communication array was still functional, but it would require authorization codes she didn't possess to send messages beyond the planet's atmosphere. However, the local monitoring systems were accessible to anyone the AI had. Classified as requiring assistance, Sasha discovered that the facility's sensors were still tracking energy signatures throughout the planet's surface. Most showed the chaotic dispersal of the abandoned hunting preserves creatures, but several displayed more organized patterns. Automated distress beacons were active in 3 locations, indicating emergency shelters or crashed vessels that might contain survivors. One signature was particularly interesting, located approximately 200 kilometers to the north. It showed regular patterns of energy usage consistent with a small settlement or research outpost. More importantly, the energy patterns matched human technological signatures. Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her research team had established multiple field stations on various worlds. If this signature represented another human facility, it might be their only hope for rescue, but reaching it would require crossing hostile terrain with 2 inexperienced cubs, avoiding the scattered predators from the hunting preserve, and surviving in an environment that grew more deadly with each passing day. While planning their next move, Sasha heard something that made her freeze, the distinctive whine of approaching spacecraft engines. The facility's sensors confirmed what her ears had detected. A small vessel was approaching from orbit, following a landing trajectory that would bring it to the main facility. The cubs looked to their mother with questioning eyes. This could be salvation or disaster, depending on who was aboard the approaching ship. Sasha accessed the facility's communication systems, managing to activate the external visual sensors. The approaching craft was small, built for survey work rather than military operations. More importantly, its design was unmistakably human. As the ship settled onto the facility's landing pad, Sasha felt a mixture of hope and terror. Humans might help her and her cubs, but they might also see her as nothing more than a dangerous predator to be destroyed or recaptured. The ship's airlock opened, and 3 figures emerged in environmental suits. Through the facility's cameras, Sasha watched them approach the main entrance. Their movement patterns, their equipment, even the way they communicated with each other, everything confirmed they were human. She had to make a choice: hide and hope they left peacefully, or reveal herself and risk everything on the possibility that these humans would recognize her intelligence and need for help. The cubs finished eating and looked to her for guidance. They trusted her completely, following her decisions without question. Whatever she chose would determine whether they lived or died. Through the facility's speakers, she heard one of the humans speaking. "The distress beacon is definitely coming from inside. Someone or something accessed the emergency systems about 6 hours ago." Another voice responded, "Could be automated systems malfunctioning. This whole operation was abandoned pretty hastily." "Maybe, but the access patterns look deliberate. Someone used the bioscanner and food storage systems. and the communication array has been activated. They were investigating the very systems she had used. In minutes, they would discover evidence of her presence. Better to control the encounter than be discovered by accident. Sasha made her decision. She activated the facility's internal communication system and spoke carefully into the audio pickup, using every ounce of her enhanced intelligence to form words that might save their lives. Please, do not run. I am intelligent. My cubs need help. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. Through the cameras, she watched the three humans freeze, looking at each other with expressions of shock and disbelief. Finally, one of them spoke. This is Dr. Sarah Shun of the Frontier Research Initiative. Who am I speaking with? Sasha's heart raced. These were researchers, not military personnel or corporate raiders. They might be willing to listen, to understand. I am Sasha, she replied, her voice growing stronger with each word. I was research subject, Dr. Elena Rodriguez. Genetic modifications. Intelligence enhanced. Valonian Empire took us, left us to die. Another long pause. Then Dr. Chun's voice again, softer now, filled with wonder rather than fear. Sasha from the Rodriguez team? We've been looking for survivors from that raid for over a year. Can you show yourself? We want to help, but we need to see who we're talking to. Sasha looked at her cubs, who watched her with complete trust. They had come too far to turn back now. My cubs are with me, she said. Do not fear us. We only want to survive. She led her cubs toward the main entrance, knowing that the next few minutes would determine whether the mining station on Kepler 442 be hummed with alien machinery, its crystal towers reaching toward the purple sky like metallic fingers. Commander Zethkar of the Valonian Empire stood on the observation deck, watching the final transport ships lift off from the planet's surface. The evacuation was complete. Every valuable resource had been extracted. Every useful piece of equipment loaded onto the massive cargo vessels. Sir, all personnel have been evacuated, reported Lieutenant Vextra, her scaled hands dancing across the holographic control panel. The mining operation is officially terminated? Zethkar nodded, his four eyes scanning the readings one final time. The Valonians had stripped this world clean over the past 50 standard cycles. The rare crystalline deposits that had made this planet valuable were now depleted. There was no reason to maintain a presence here any longer. What about the beast enclosures? Vextra asked, glancing at a secondary display. The hunting preserve still shows active biosignatures. The commander's mandibles clicked with annoyance. He had forgotten about the entertainment facility. During the mining operation, wealthy Valonian nobles had visited the planet to hunt exotic creatures captured from various worlds. The hunting preserve had been a profitable side business, but now it was just another expense they couldn't afford. Terminate the preserve, Zethkar ordered without hesitation. Release the containment fields and let nature take its course. We cannot waste transport space on entertainment animals. Vextra's fingers hesitated over the controls. Sir, some of these creatures are extremely dangerous. The Zarian shadow cats, the plasma bears from Taros Prime, and that Terran leopard beast we acquired last cycle. If we release them, they will die or survive on their own, the commander interrupted. This planet's ecosystem cannot support most of these species anyway. The cold season is approaching, and without the heated enclosures, they will not last long. The lieutenant's expression showed concern, but she followed orders. The containment fields flickered and died, one by one. Across the hunting preserve, force barriers dissolved, allowing dozens of alien predators to escape their cages for the first time in cycles. Most of the creatures scattered immediately, running into the alien wilderness with no understanding of their new environment. But in Enclosure Sector 7, something different happened. The Terran leopard beast had been captured during a raid on a human research station 18 months ago. Unlike the other creatures, she had not been alone when taken. Hidden beneath her powerful spotted body were two small cubs, barely old enough to open their eyes when the Valonians had imprisoned her. Now, As the containment field dissolved, she remained motionless. Her golden eyes, marked with vertical pupils like burning amber, scanned the alien landscape beyond her former prison. The vegetation was wrong, purple-leafed trees instead of green, crystalline outcroppings that hummed with strange energy, and an atmosphere that tasted of metal and ozone. The cubs, now nearly full-grown but still dependent on their mother, pressed close to her flanks. They were magnificent creatures, their spotted coats rippling over lean muscle, their movements silent despite their size. But their eyes held confusion and fear. This was not the verdant world of their birth. The mother's name was Sasha, though no alien had ever bothered to learn it. She had been part of Dr. Elena Rodriguez's xenobiology research team before the Valonian raid. The research station had been studying adaptive evolution on frontier worlds when the attack came. Most of the human team had been killed, but Sasha and her cubs had been taken as exotic specimens. Now she stood at the threshold of freedom, but it was a poisoned gift. The air was thin and cold. The approaching season would bring temperatures that could kill. There was no familiar prey, no known water sources, no shelter that smelled of home. Behind her, the cubs whimpered softly. They were hungry. The Valonians had fed them only every few days, just enough to keep them alive for eventual hunting sport. Now, with their captors gone, even that meager sustenance was ended. Sasha's enhanced senses, products of both natural evolution and human genetic modification, analyzed their situation with brutal clarity. The nearest water source was contaminated with alien minerals that would poison them within days. The native animal life was either toxic or too well adapted to this environment for her to hunt successfully. The approaching winter would bring sub-zero temperatures that their tropical genetics could not handle. They were going to die slowly. Abandoned on an alien world by creatures who had never seen them as anything more than entertainment. But Sasha was not just any Earth predator. The research station where she had lived was part of humanity's frontier expansion program. Dr. Rodriguez had been studying how Earth species might adapt to alien environments, and her research subjects had been enhanced with experimental gene therapies designed to increase adaptability and intelligence. The modifications had worked better than anyone expected. Sasha could process information at levels approaching human cognition. She understood cause and effect, could plan for future events, and most importantly, she could recognize patterns and adapt strategies based on changing circumstances. As she surveyed the hostile landscape, her mind worked through possibilities with cold, predatory logic. Direct survival was impossible. The environment was too alien, too hostile. But there might be another way. In the distance, she could see the abandoned mining facility. The Valonians had left in haste, and their technology still hummed with power. Where there was technology, there might be resources. Where there were resources, there might be a chance, but approaching the facility would be dangerous. It was likely booby-trapped or defended by automated systems. And even if she could access it, she was still just an animal in the eyes of any intelligence she might encounter unless she could prove otherwise. Sasha had spent 18 months observing her Valonian captors. She had watched them operate their technology, had seen their social hierarchies, had learned to recognize their emotional states and behavioral patterns. More importantly, she had watched them interact with other species they considered intelligent. The key was communication. The key was proving that she was more than a beast. Her cubs needed food immediately, but they also needed a long-term solution. And sometimes the most dangerous path was the only one that led to survival. With a soft growl to her cubs, Sasha began moving toward the mining facility. Her paws made no sound on the crystalline ground, her spotted coat blending with the strange shadows cast by the alien sun. Behind her, the cubs followed silently, trusting their mother's judgment even as they walked toward the unknown. They were no longer prisoners in a cage, but they were still trapped on a hostile world. The only question now was whether they could survive long enough to find someone willing to help them escape it. In the growing darkness of the alien evening, 3 pairs of golden eyes moved steadily toward a facility that might hold salvation or death. And in the depths of space, traveling away from Kepler 442b at maximum speed, The Valonian fleet carried no knowledge that they had left behind something far more intelligent and resourceful than they had ever imagined. The hunt was about to begin, but this time the predator would be the one seeking help.